Hey everyone, and welcome back for our latest deep dive. We're tackling a topic I think we've all been in before. Those kind of tricky personalities you sometimes find on a team. You know what I mean, right?
Oh, yeah, we've all worked with them.
Yeah, exactly. But the good news is we're not just here to swap war stories. We're going to equip you with real strategies from this managing difficult team members. Think of it as a crash course in how to make your team, well, less stressful and way more productive.
Exactly. And to be super clear, we're not about slapping labels on anyone. No way. This is all about giving you the tools to handle those, let's call them interesting behaviors.
Love it. So this guide we're looking at, it really hits hard on how important that very first step is, actually figuring out what the problem is. Sounds simple, right? But how many times have you just brushed something off hoping it'll just magically fix itself?
Oh gosh, way too often, I think. It's easier to complain to a coworker than actually do something about it.
Oh, for sure. Guilty as charged. But this book, it really pushes you to look past those one-off things and see if there's a bigger picture. And this is where it gets juicy. They actually say you should keep track of specific, like really specific behaviors.
You're right. And when we say behaviors, we mean like what someone actually said word for word, or I don't know, showed up late to every meeting for a month.
Yeah.
Not your gut feeling about it. It's like gathering clues, right? You want to be objective.
Okay, so instead of just being like, "Ugh, Mark was being impossible again today,"
Exactly.
you actually write down something like, Mark cut people off 6 times during the brainstorming session and then made all those kind of sarcastic jokes about their ideas.
Nailed it. This isn't about being like keeping score for some revenge plot. It's about getting real clear on if this is a pattern or if, yeah, maybe Mark was just having a bad day. That's how you figure out how big of a deal this actually is.
Makes total sense. So,
Mm-hmm.
okay, let's say we've spotted the pattern. We've got our evidence. What's next? Time for that awkward, like, pull them aside chat.
Well, yeah, eventually. But before you go grabbing your courage and a cup of coffee, this guide has some surprisingly good tips on how to even talk about this stuff. And it all starts with something I know we've all heard a million times: active listening.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that look on my face is total guilt. I'm definitely someone who starts planning my response before they're even done talking.
Oh, I've been there. But here's where this book gets really good. It's like, hold up, what if instead of trying to change who this person is, you focus on how they're actually acting?
Deep, right?
So instead of you are always so negative, it's more like,
Exactly. More like, hey, Sarah, I've noticed you haven't been suggesting many solutions in the meetings lately. Anything going on? Totally different vibe, right?
way different, way less aggressive. And I see how that can make someone way more open to actually talking. But let's be real. Eventually, you do have to actually give them feedback, right? And that is scary, especially if this person's already kind of touchy.
Oh, you're telling me giving feedback is an art. But good news, this guide gives you a whole system for it. It's feedback that's clear, useful, and actually might lead to something.
Okay, tell me everything. How does it work? So the big thing is balance. Picture this: the feedback sandwich.
Okay, now you have my attention.
Right. So instead of just dumping criticism on someone, you start by saying something positive, then you slide in the thing they need to work on, but then you finish it off with another positive thing, like one of their strengths.
So something like, hey, Alex, you absolutely crushed that presentation. Those slides were incredible, and the way you presented them was super engaging. I did see a couple of typos in the handout, though. Just something to look out for, but honestly, great job overall.
You got it. That is the feedback sandwich in action. See, by recognizing what they did well, even when you're pointing out a problem, it doesn't feel so much like a personal attack, and they're way more likely to actually hear you.
Because, like, people are more open to listening when they don't feel like they're being attacked.
Exactly. And this guide, it really drives home that this isn't some top-down thing. Working through this stuff, it has to be a team effort.
I like that. And this book makes this interesting point. A lot of times when someone's being difficult, it's because they feel like their needs aren't being met, like they've been ignored or something. Yeah, it's almost like they're acting out for attention because nothing else has worked.
Right. So it's not about some power struggle. The guide's all about getting the team member involved and actually fixing the issue.
So it's less of a problem to be solved and more like a mission you're on together.
Yes, that's it. It's about finding a solution that works for everyone. If they actually feel heard and they have a say in fixing things, they're way more likely to be on board and, actually change their behavior.
This is all great practical advice. But what about if someone's really struggling? Like, it goes beyond needing to communicate better. What's in the guide for those situations where a teammate might need more serious support?
That's where those support systems come into play. Sometimes someone's behavior isn't them just being difficult, it's a sign they need help.
Instead of getting frustrated, we should be asking what that person needs to actually do well.
Yeah, exactly. And this guide has some good examples, like training is a big one. Maybe they just need some extra skills to feel more confident, and then boom, they're better at their job.
Right, like that saying, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. Maybe this teammate just needs like a crash course in fishing?
I love that analogy. Mentoring is another good one. Sometimes just having someone more experienced to guide them can make all the difference.
So true. We've all had those people who've helped us, especially early in our careers. But what about when it's, I don't know, more complicated, like personalities clashing or communication styles just not meshing?
Okay, so this is where understanding different personality types can really help.
Sure.
And I know, not another personality test, but this guide actually has a pretty good take on it.
Okay, you've got me curious. How do they approach it?
So it's not about putting people into boxes, right? Like, oh, she's such an introvert, that explains everything. It's about getting that we all see the world differently, which obviously affects how we work together.
Makes sense. So someone who's super organized and loves a good to-do list is going to clash with someone who's more go with the flow?
Totally. And this knowledge helps you, I don't know, adjust how you talk to them, how you approach projects together. Like, remember Myers-Briggs. It's not just for team building retreats.
Oh yeah, I remember taking that years ago. I think I got ENFJ. No idea what it means anymore.
Yeah, well, basically each letter stands for like a different personality preference. It helps you get how people, recharge, how they make decisions, all that stuff. So if you've got someone on your team who's more introverted and you know they need time to think things through before giving their opinion, you wouldn't expect them to come up with their best ideas in a huge, crazy brainstorming session, right?
Totally. You'd give them space to think and then maybe chat with them one-on-one later.
Exactly. You got to play to their strengths and make sure everybody feels good about how they work best.
This is great. I love how this guy gives us actual tools to figure out personality differences instead of just being like, well, that person is just impossible. But can we circle back to communication for a sec? Any specific techniques that can help when those conversations get tough?
Oh, yeah. Tons. This guide's full of them. One that really stands out is what they call the, get this, feedback sandwich.
Intrigued. And also kind of hungry now. Tell me more.
So it's all about how you deliver criticism. Instead of just being like, here's what you need to fix, which can make people defensive, you sandwich it between two positive things.
Okay, so instead of just saying, you missed a bunch of typos, it's more like, hey, that presentation was fantastic. Seriously, your slides were amazing and you kept everyone engaged. I did notice a few typos in the handout, though. Just something to keep an eye on, but seriously, awesome job.
Exactly. You're recognizing what they did well, but you're still slipping in the constructive stuff. But it feels less like an attack,
Yeah.
More like, hey, I see your potential. Let's work on this together.
It's a good reminder that even when you're dealing with difficult behavior, you should still be coming from a place of support. Like you actually want to see this person succeed. Like it's like that saying, how'd it go? People might forget what you said, even what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel.
So true, especially when you're talking about someone's behavior.
Totally. It's not always what you say, it's the delivery, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes, even when you're doing all the right things, you got to set some boundaries.
Boundaries. That can be a tough one. People get nervous about that at work. Like, it's going to start a whole thing. But this guide is like, no, boundaries are self-care. Yeah. It's about protecting your time, your energy, your sanity, honestly. Then you can actually be a better leader.
Love that. So it's not about, like, being mean. It's about making sure everyone has a work environment that's actually good for them. How do we actually do that, though?
So the guide talks a lot about I statements.
Okay, give me the rundown. How do those work again?
So let's say you've got someone who's always blowing up your phone and email at like midnight. Instead of being like, you need to stop messaging me after hours, try something like, it's tough for me to unplug after work when I'm getting messages that aren't urgent. Maybe we could figure out a system for those after hours things.
Ooh, good example. You're being direct, but you're not blaming them. And boom, you even offered a solution.
Exactly. With I statements, you're not pointing fingers. You're just saying what you need, which is way better.
Got it. Okay, so we've covered like communication styles, feedback, even setting boundaries. That's a lot. But what if you've done all that and it's still not working? How do you know when it's like time to get someone else involved.
That's when you got to put your detective hat back on.
Yeah.
Have you been documenting everything? Have you had those honest conversations, tried the support stuff, set those boundaries, and nothing? Then, yeah, it might be time to talk to HR or your boss, someone higher up.
Right. So it's not about giving up on someone. It's more like sometimes you need a fresh perspective. Or, honestly, sometimes it's just out of your hands.
Exactly. And that is why keeping track of everything is so important.
Yeah, you can show what steps you took to try to fix it, which protects everyone.
That's it. It's all right there, clear as day, so everyone knows the situation and any decisions made are fair.
Wow. This has been an amazing deep dive. So much to think about, and more importantly, so much we can actually do to make things better when we're dealing with these tough situations on our teams.
Totally. The key is to just try things out, see what works for your team. It'll be different for everyone, right?
And remember, even if you just change one thing after listening today, that's a win. Don't feel like you have to do it all at once.
That's so important. Start small. Maybe it's that active listening thing or trying that feedback sandwich or just like getting comfortable telling people what you need. Every little thing gets you closer to that ideal team where everyone feels good, feels respected, and can actually do their best work.
And on that note, that's a wrap on another deep dive. Hope you got a ton out of it. And remember, you got this.
Absolutely. Until next time, happy collaborating, everybody.